long time. Me dream with you sing rough like crime. I make you sing this line. I know there's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good. I'm riding that pussy like a stroller. I'm surviving a motherfucking good. That my motherfucking want it like the New York. And I'm coming red like Coca-Cola. I'ma have a very good time. I swear to God I can never sound like a shorty. She sick, she like all of a nigga ride. Where is my phone and pussy coolly? I want you to pass it to thugger. Even in the summertime, me and Lil' Shawty cutter. I swear to God, I'ma tell you, dog got the struggle. Baby girl, sit it down, you not know like a usher. I told her mama I don't like what my teeth do. I wanna control you like voodoo. I started screaming freak on phone and doodloo. Every time I have a good time, do. Good time, man. Come on, but good time was a bad one. You say you want me so long time. Me dream with you sing rough like crime. I make you sing this line. I know there's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good time, man. I know this gonna be fun, this gonna be fun. Keep running up all the money. There's gonna be good times. There's gonna be good times. There's
Welcome to the Postgame. Welcome new patrons. Welcome all patrons. I'm Michael Brooks. With us is crew Corey Pein. He's also written a book, apparently.
That's what I'm told.
I haven't heard anything about it. It's not like Corey hasn't been harassing me about it for ages. Live, work, 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 die, A Journey to the Savage Heart, Silicon Valley. Order it now. And, of course, super producer Matt Leck, super producer David Slavic, head theoretician David Grishkin. We got a lot to get to. We've got a bunch of calls, a bunch of Discord questions, and we've got sound. We've got to review the Jordan Peterson, Bill Maher appearance. We've got to reveal, we talked about this last week, Little Twerp and ultra dull sociopath Ben Shapiro was in the searches of a terrorist in Montreal that shot up a mosque. Good, actually very disturbing mashup that was put together by Nathan Bernard, our friend. And then we will review Jordan Peterson was on Bill Maher. I'll just say by preview, I love that Bill Maher is like so annoyed by kids like harshing his buzz that he's willing to basically like endorse like crypto fascist Catholicism just on that basis. Like he doesn't even. There was one second when Alex Wagner brought up like the pill, and Jordan Peterson said, and you could see Bill Maher was like, wait, whoa, that's not. Definitely want the pill when I'm trying to fuck strippers. But let's get back to kids should shut the fuck up when I'm high in first class. That sounds good to me. And I should be able to make Obama his shaft jokes, and people should think it's funny. That's the thing Bill Maher doesn't get, is it's not even that people are criticizing him. It's just like, dude, like, I'm not offended. I don't care. It's just that maybe was funny 15 years ago. What do you want from me?
Eventually, Dennis Miller is going to sad himself to death, and on Majority, you're going to have to replace those Dennis Miller bits with Bill Maher bits. Yeah.
The thing about Bill Maher is that there's a pathos to Dennis Miller that Bill Maher is like it's so weird.
He hasn't developed it yet. Dennis Miller didn't have that back in the day.
Maybe not, but at this point, like Dennis Miller has like a very sick and very covered, but he has a soul. You know, Bill. I don't know, Bill. You know, the thing is, Bill Maher's still pretty successful. I mean, Bill Maher's got the HBO slot. You know, I think that comforts him. But it is amazing. It's just, all right. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it. We're teasing it. Let's. We'll get to the calls soon. But let's. This is Bill Maher. He apparently, like, I guess it's just funny because I don't even think he does any vetting on this stuff. Like, he clearly just is like, he's the new guy who thinks that kids don't laugh at stuff. Book him. And this is Jordan Peterson. And I mean, Jordan Peterson is a vacuous motherfucker. Let's check this out.
Into tribal actors, and that the end result of that is catastrophe.
But weren't you also saying, though, that the left is too worried about offending people?
I think that goes along with...
I will.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Well, that goes...
But then on the other hand...
Did you catch that? Like he realizes Jordan Peterson does like this fake thing where he's basically trashing the left and pretty much saying that other than like, you know, the classic new like right-wing identity politics where like everybody needs to shut the fuck up and suck it up except for, you know, like aggrieved fascists. And then Bill Maher, of course, is just stuck in his tunnel vision of like, yeah, like we should call people retards again and then we'd win. Exactly. Fucking hey, Alex Wagner, how are you doing? Bada bop, right? And so he does that. And then Jordan Peterson's like, oh no, I'm going to lose the favor that I've curried with Bill Maher. I should agree. And then plow ahead in my incoherence.
Along with,
I will.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Well, that goes...
See?
But then on the other hand, when the left, for example, offends people in the political sphere, you're questioning whether that's somehow bad for society writ large.
Well, I'm concerned about... I think that those two issues are somewhat separate. I'm concerned about the dialogue in the United States around the presidency pulling people farther and farther apart. It has nothing to do with the behavior of Trump. I think this is an independent issue. You can say positive or negative things about Trump as his might.
But he's only there because they support him. You see,
I know.
mean, that's the thing.
That's the issue. That's the issue. Is they did support him.
Pulling off his wedding.
Without the circus, he's just a lonely clown.
Yeah.
But he has these people in Congress who are enablers, and this base that it is a cult of personality, not unlike dictatorships we've seen in the past. I mean, he said once, famously, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any fans.
Yes, yes.
And he has proved that to be almost true. I mean, we cannot imagine what he would do where they would turn on him, because I don't know what that would be. I don't think it's anything, because whatever it was, he would just say, well, it's fake news.
But okay, so imagine he's impeached, just for the sake of argument.
Impeach or convicted.
Okay, either of those. But it seems to me...
Well, that matters. One, he has to leave.
Yeah, no, it's not an unimportant detail, but it still seems to me
Pause
that it
it.
leaves you...
Jordan Peterson has definitely learned from a lot of kids in his class that they're not properly memorize Jungian archetypes and are trying to vamp. It's not an unimportant detail, says the guy who has no idea what the distinction that Bill Maher just made is.
I have barely any idea what they're talking. This makes me feel much more confident as a broadcaster.
Oh, yeah,
because
dude,
it's
you're
like,
good
what
to go.
happened with that segment? I mean,
Well,
like,
I think
first
we
of
were
all,
in
they
the
were talking
middle of
about
it.
the left, and then they got on Trump somehow. Like, what? I don't
Well, Jordan Peterson did that wise thing where it's like, I think it's separate from this behavior about Donald Trump. And no one was fucking talking about the behavior of Donald Trump. They're talking about the behavior of leftists and offending right-wing people when we're supposed to like simultaneously, be too worried about reaching out to them and offending them.
And why? And my question was watching that. Why were they even starting off on that subject? Like, who actually cares about that except for Bill Maher?
Well, I think that's your answers in the presentation there. This is Bill Maher's little domain. But then Jordan Peterson, I think Jordan Peterson was trying to do people are going to be upset because they support Trump, and if you do something to him, you mean like people people are upset that he's there. There's people upset over different things. This is a completely meaningless statement. And then every time, I think it's fascinating that Maher contradicts him, and through a combination of clearly having zero idea of actually how any of these things work institutionally or politically, and then not wanting to offend his patron and stay on the good side of like, yeah, college kids are pussies and they don't laugh and they're harshing your buzz, that he shuts the fuck up. And then they both together basically actually get to a place where, like, actually, I mean, if we're being honest, Corey and I would make this comparison, but he basically ends up first goes like, gotta be considerate of their feelings, and then co-signs on actually like the most insulting comparison you can make of Trump supporters ever, or actually from my perspective complimentary, but for most Americans super insulting.
We're convicted.
Okay, either of those. But it seems to me...
Well, that matters. One, he has to leave.
Yeah, no, it's not an unimportant detail,
yes,
but
Professor,
it still seems
correct.
To me that it leaves you with the problem of what do you do with the disaffected 40% that are going to be very unhappy about this, independent of Trump's behavior?
Kind of like the Sunnis after we kicked over Saddam.
Well, that's a hell of a precedent
ISIS.
to cite.
Yes,
right.
Sunnis became
he literally, Bill Maher is like basically saying they'll become like Al Qaeda in Iraq. And Jordan Peterson goes from like, we need to listen to them, to like, well, that's a hell of a precedent. Maybe they will start doing suicide bombings.
Jordan Peterson mastered this thing that I've noticed certain smarter members of the Trump administration doing, which is when a journalist is trying to get you, you can act like you're not disagreeing with them at all. And most journalists won't say, hey, I'm disagreeing with you right now. They'll just be like, oh, okay. Like, they'll let you do your fake answer where you say you're kind of agreeing with them, but don't really say anything.
They won't even bring it back to the question that they wanted to answer. It's just like, okay, well, we filled up that time. Moving on.
All right, plowing ahead here. That's what Bill Burr says on his podcast. It's great. He always goes, plowing ahead. What do we got?
I got a picture. Hold on, I need to find this here. It's of oh man, sorry. It's go on your next thing. I'll bring it up. It's Peterson.
It's really helpful for him.
You like his beard?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not convinced either way. You have any other thoughts on this clip?
Can I just? Well, I want to stick up for myself for a minute here. Now that we're in the post game, minute comment. This is a designer T-shirt, by the way.
Dude,
you said like, oh, Corey rolled up in Versace suit. No, dude. This is I'm wearing designer clothes right now.
I believe it.
Okay. Yeah,
dude, I saw you in your fucking cat print shirt and your leather jacket yesterday, bawling out like fucking proper dope young writer.
Okay, here's the other thing about Peterson. Here's the other, bringing it back to the clip. Peterson has obviously gotten a stylist.
Yes, he has.
So, I mean, that's a sign that he's actually...
Is my stylist gay? Maybe. Should the person have rammed a car into people in the street in Vancouver, in Toronto, because he couldn't get a blowjob? Probably not. Could we have stopped him? Probably yes. Should girls go to jail for not giving him a blowjob? Maybe. I want to learn how to talk like that. just justify like all of the worst human impulses in the world through a series of like melodramatic, semi-rhetorical questions, but not even totally rhetorical because they're not even clear enough or intellectually honest enough to be purely rhetorical. With a lot of like maybes, could be's, who knows?
Well, and adding the double negatives, I mean that's huge. You know,
double negatives.
He's mastered the like academic sounding thing. You know, it's like duck talk. Like he just has to put enough syllables together, and he's one of these guys that has probably advanced through his entire adult life by sounding smart and sounding like he knows what he's talking about, and getting the patois down or whatever.
In order to go on 50 Cent's tour bus, they say you're fucking or sucking. Is that right? Could be. Would that be something that we should implement as a national policy? Well, I don't know. You tell me. Is it all girls' faults that we're having this conversation? Yeah, tend to think so.
Is this the picture that Matt was looking for?
Oh, God. All right, this is terrifying. Please put this picture up for
This is Dr. Jordan Peterson meeting
Mini-Me?
the actual sized Ben Shapiro in front of the Daily Wire offices.
How can something so compact contain so much evil?
I mean, imagine like you come into your office every single day and you like you're under the writing on the door every day.
Yeah, and this is your boss. And he looks up to you and he's like, we need to do more content on why Native Americans should be tested before they can get government benefits on their welfare on their reservation.
One of the things that, to plug my book again, Live, Work, 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 Die, A Journey to the Savage Heart of Silicon Valley, on sale today, also on Audible.
I hadn't heard about that.
There's a singularitarian guy, actually a geneticist, a genetic engineer, sort of amateur genetic engineer, who was talking about how
thank you to Theodore, by the way, on Twitter for that picture.
We're headed for subspeciation is his prediction. You know, like genetic engineering is going to bring us to have like a master race and then a regular race. Right. But looking at that picture, I'm like, oh my God. It's already happening.
It's already here. Is Ben Shapiro part of a
It appears that was photoshopped.
Yeah.
Oh no!
You know what's
really?
I totally believe it though.
I'm shocked how easily I believe that.
Yeah, I didn't even. It's so funny. We're in the world we're in today. I always am asking myself, is that fake? Is that photo? And that one, I was just like, oh yeah, that's a picture. It didn't even occur to me.
Me either. It was a good Photoshop.
That was well done. I buy it.
Didn't Sutton say last week that Ben Shapiro was saying that he was 210 pounds?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro definitely lies
which
about.
Which is wild. Those I'm 6'2", and that's my
muscle.
weight.
Yeah, that is not. I'm all diesel. I'll fucking kick the shit out of you, Grisham. Come by my Hebrew school. I'll fucking lay you out. I would actually have so much more respect for Shapiro if he started talking like that. Like I would become
It's going to be the pivot. He's going to get.
He's going to start getting shirtless.
Yeah. He's going to go Norman Mailer.
Yeah.
I'm saying that woman can't box the ring, and boxing is the ultimate test of spirituality, spirit in matter.
Norman Mailer, Ben Shapiro. You like that? Yeah, it's not a bad character.
The artistic process doesn't care about your feelings. That's what I told my wife where I threw out of a fucking third-story building in Greenwich Village. Ben Shapiro. The Negro is cool. Watch how Kendrick moves. That's an unbound spirit.
I like Ben Shapiro and Norman Mailer.
I mean, it gives
that's
him
not
a
a bad
too much
character. It makes him.
credit,
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes him like.
It makes him.
Yeah, I love how like basically a routine predicated on like weird like bohemian style racism and like attempted homicide of your wife makes him sound cooler.
It's not. It's not
like,
a good. It shows you.
Yeah.
It's not a good starting point.
No,
right.
It's a really bad. Well, let's deal with this. Nathan Bernard, who is connected with us, he does a lot of exposing work on Ben Shapiro and Mike Cernovich and these types of characters. And this, I don't. I've made this point a lot of times. I don't like over deploying the word terrorist at all, and I want to use it as little as possible. But I want to use it in its strict and appropriate sense. This guy, whose name unfortunately I don't have in front of me, but he does appear in this video, did a mass killing at a mosque in Canada. That is literally, I mean, that type of motivated, specific, and targeted killing is a form of terrorism. And so it is appropriate usage in this case. And the prosecution team released, I believe it was the prosecution released it, basically a chart of his top Twitter searches. And Ben Shapiro is at the top, and here is Ben Shapiro, I think, of course, on the couch of the perfect meeting point of Craven and Stupid, Dave Rubin, and he's responding to this. And there's also a mashup with actual, just to warn everybody, I mean, it's disgusting enough, Shapiro's spin, but there's actually footage of the killer in an interrogation room as well. So this actually is a pretty serious clip.
And this is actually prior to the actual massacre. This is, if I remember right, Rubin asked Shapiro, is there any criticism that actually fits you? And he's like, no, before answering like this.
Right.
The criticism of me that I think is legit is one that I think is probably common to most people, which is I tend to fall into confirmation bias. I think that, but you know, when you're in the political realm, the easiest thing to do is to find evidence that supports your position and cherry pick the evidence in order to support that position. The myth of the tiny radical Muslim minority is just that. It's a myth. And, unfortunately, it's a myth that's going to get a lot of civilized people killed.
So just his name was Alexandro Vicente, and this is him in his interrogation.
They're speaking Quebecois French, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, this is something you'll have to watch on video. Unfortunately, I can't translate all of it, but his top search was Ben Shapiro on Twitter. They're asking him, do you have problems with Muslims? He says yes. Then back to a tweet by Ben Shapiro. Radical Muslims kill 49 LGBT people in Florida. Obama blames guns.
Now
Bernie
the question
says climate change.
isn't whether Islam itself is violent. It's what its adherents believe, because that's what they act upon. There's plenty of violent material in the Old and New Testaments. Hey, I'm an Orthodox Jew. I read the Old Testament a lot. But believers in those particular texts are not currently ramming airliners into towers or beheading journalists or mutilating female genitalia.
What a little piece of shit this guy is. And he's saying he wanted, no, this is back to the killer. He said, I wanted to save people from terrorist attacks.
680,030,000. 680,030,000 radical Muslims.
I was convinced they were going to kill my parents and my
it seems
family.
fair to assume that similar proportions of people in countries like, say, like Algeria, Syria, Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Tunisia, Somalia, and Libya are also radicalized. And if they are, then, well, we're above 800 million Muslims who are radicalized. More than half the Muslims on Earth. That's not a minority, that's now a majority. And that's still not even surveying hundreds of millions of Muslims in other countries.
I had to do something. This is back to the terrorists. So there you have it. I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I just think this is the New York Times cool kid philosopher.
Yeah, the cool kid philosopher. I can't believe they did that. I mean, that was a system failure, right? On the Times part, and they're not the only ones. And it's just like I gotta just assume that they didn't do their homework on this guy. And you know what tools like Shapiro are really good at is, well, dog whistling isn't quite the right word, but they've got a multi-tiered message, right? So for the New York Times, they get one level, and they're like, "Oh, he's mini Tucker Carlson," you know. And they actually don't even see
college campuses, and kids need to hear opinions they don't like, and all that shit.
Yeah, and for Shapiro and Carlson, I mean, they don't even see like the part of the iceberg below the surface where it's much more bigoted. I mean, in that video, I mean, Shapiro is not even like, he's not even trying to tailor his message. I mean, that is a straight up well-produced propaganda video designed to incite hatred against Muslims. And look at, oh God, shockingly it worked. I mean, and he needs to be interrogated in that way. And, reporters who are treating him as like, young conservative lion, the same people that would think James O'Keefe is incorrigible. I mean, for some reason they give more credibility to Shapiro, and I guess Shapiro's just been cleverer about watching his tongue depending on what company he's in.
Well, I also think like Sam Harris, I think that's totally true, and I think like Sam Harris and like Jordan Peterson and like all these people, I mean, people have this very extraordinarily dumbed down view of their perception. So apparently in this culture, people think that talking like that makes you sound intelligent for some reason. It's very weird. I don't know.
He threw a lot of numbers out there, didn't he?
Well, that's what it is. It's the number myth.
There's a thread there. I mean, we prize quantification, and the press and our political culture isn't prepared to talk about things in moral terms, or in qualified terms. But we worship numbers, we worship money. It was probably part of why we worship numbers, and that was a very dazzling array of completely bullshit statistics.
Right, but statistics, which we worship at the altar of. I'm going to go to our first call, and you're calling from a 502 area code, and I believe your name, please correct me if I'm wrong, sir, is Dan Cannon, and you are a DSA-backed candidate running in Indiana. I don't know for what office. I got all of the other pieces of information except for that.
I see that my reputation precedes me in part, at least, and so I don't know if I'm famous or infamous for this stuff, but yeah.
What do you?
I'm running
what
for,
office?
I'm running for House of Representatives in Indiana's 9th district.
Nice. Who are you running against?
The incumbent's name is Joseph Albert Hollingsworth III.
Well, that
sounds like
a good
somebody who
person to run
shouldn't be in
against.
Congress. I'm going to just make the base. I would propose legislation.
It's the essence of Congress, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I would propose legislation that if your name sounds like a Will Ferrell character, you should not be allowed to serve in Congress. Yeah. So
it was
what
described to me by another reporter as the most punchable name he's ever heard, but I think that was off the record. So I probably shouldn't say it.
Well, you didn't identify him. It's
yeah, this is good. This is for patrons. So what are you running on? What are the core messages, and how did you hook up? What made you a democratic socialist?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't really claim the Democratic Socialist mantle. They'll probably get mad at me down here if I do that, but I am endorsed by 2 different organizations, and we're proud of it. And it's not something that we want to run away from,
right.
And because we think that the DSA stands for good things. We think that giving health care to everybody, and having a health care system that doesn't cause people to go bankrupt or die because they can't pay a medical bill is a good thing. We think that jobs for everybody who want jobs is a good thing. We think that, it's particularly a good thing in my district. Where so many people are wanting good jobs. We think medical marijuana is a good thing. We think legalization of marijuana in general is a good thing. So stuff that was radical a year ago when we started running is now. I mean, things are moving quickly, and it doesn't sound so radical anymore. When somebody like Kirsten Gillibrand comes out in favor of a guaranteed jobs program. It does, in a way, it validates what we've been saying for a very long time about what's good for the future of America and what's good for the people of Indiana.
What is your background? What got you into this game?
I'm a civil rights lawyer, and so I haven't really had any political aspirations up to this point, but I've had some high-profile cases. And after 2016, just kind of looking around and seeing what else I could do to help my community and my people and my family and my country, not to sound too hokey, this was something that I could do. I mean, sort of trying to get into I've been in the judicial branch for so long. And, there's sort of this growing concern that I have that as somebody like Trump continues to pack the court with these maniac judges, that the judiciary is not going to be the safeguard that it has been for so long in America, and we're not going to be able to depend on that. And so, it's become more and more important to me that we get good people on the inside of the legislature and the inside of the executive branch at all levels, and try to make a difference that way. So I worked on the marriage equality cases that went to the United States Supreme Court. And if your listeners know about the Kim Davis case, the clerk that wouldn't issue the marriage licenses out in eastern Kentucky, that was my case too. And we were out here making news by suing Trump before it was cool. Although I guess it was kind of always cool.
Yeah.
Can I just say, as a lawyer, you're a little jealous of that Stormy Daniels lawyer, right? I mean,
yeah. Are you jealous of the Stormy Daniels guy? Yeah. That's a good
question.
Hell no.
Corey.
I mean,
no, because we pioneered it. When Trump came in to do a rally with a seething mob of white supremacists from Indiana and his audience, and invited those white supremacists to attack my black client who was there to peacefully protest. We sued him.
Oh my God, I remember that was wow. Okay.
Yeah,
remember that one? Yeah,
I do remember.
Yeah, that was on CNN a lot.
That was the first. I mean, I think for a lot of people, that was the first time they saw the horror of the Trump movement in full.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's true.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Before, actually, I got with me Corey Pein, who. We're going to do this again. His book just came out. It's called Live, Work, 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 Die, Journey into the Savage Heart of Silicon Valley. And actually, this is a real thing, especially in this show and what we cover in terms of, people in their 20s and 30s and the rules of the road for the economy we're in. starting with everything from saving and fighting back against the destruction of net neutrality by the Trump administration, the Republican Party, but thinking also more broadly about, especially as a civil rights attorney, privacy protections, consumer bill of rights in the context of Silicon Valley. You have any thoughts on that area as well before we go?
Well, net neutrality is something I get asked about from time to time, and obviously that's something that's important for us to go back in and protect. I think when we're looking at the bigger picture of about what's interesting to me is how social media is sort of creating this tribalism thing. One of the cute questions that people like to ask you when you're running for Congress is, what's the number one problem that there is in America? And there's a lot of them, but I think if I had to distill it down to one thing, it's just the idea of propaganda and the idea of tribalism and the fact that we don't really, and I hate to even bring this stuff up because it makes me sound like a Luddite, but the fact that there's very little percentage of our communications that happen face to face.
Yeah,
and I don't think you sound like a Luddite.
I think social media is great, right? And I love technology and all that good stuff. But at the same time, relying on that as the sole kind of human communication or our primary kind of communication, I think is really dangerous, because it's so easy to dehumanize, somebody else. It's so easy to other somebody else. And, it's really hard to do that when you're face to face. And we've seen that a lot over the last year, knocking lots of doors.
Can I ask what kind of role social media plays in a state house race in Indiana? I mean, is it?
No, this is the United States.
Oh, I'm sorry, U.S. House. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's running for U.S. House. Yeah.
I know that reporting resources, state, local level, have been cut back. I mean, is the campaign playing out on social media more so than it might have been in a newspaper, broadcast media? Even compared to 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I think there's two schools of thought sort of emerging about that, from what I can tell. And again, this is all kind of new to me. But there seems to be the old school of political strategy, sort of DNC type of strategy, where you're, not investing a whole lot in field, but you're putting a whole lot in TV and a little bit in radio at the end. And then, there's an emerging social media component of that too that's also important. We have, and then the other school of thought is put a lot in field, a lot in social media, and maybe a little bit in radio or traditional advertising if you got it left over. And that's kind of the direction that we've gone, because I think that knocking doors and making phone calls, and trying to have as much one-on-one contact as you possibly can, not only wins elections, but it helps us sort of humanize the issues that we really care about. Puts a face with the issues that we really care about, and lets people see that they can trust us, and that we're just some scary socialist monster lurking under the closet.
We are, bed, but not you, sir. Tell everybody, tell everybody before you go how they can find you and help out with the campaign.
Yeah, sure. It's canon4indiana.com. So it's CANON, like the camera, not the artillery weapon. FOR Indiana.com is the website, and you can find Cannon for Indiana on Facebook and Cannon for Indiana on Twitter, or just me, Dan Cannon, on Twitter. And we've been talking about stuff that I think is big and stuff that's important for the future of America. I was the first candidate to come out in favor of abolishing ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And since then, there are 15 more candidates nationwide that have come out in favor of that. And we think that's really important.
That is really important.
Take a very firm stance.
That is more than reason enough to support your campaign 100%. So thanks so much for calling in, and we wish you best of luck.
Well, thanks for having me, you guys, and keep up a good fight.
Thank you. You're calling from a 478 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Yes, is this the hotline for Vaporize? I'm looking to get a sales rep on the phone to place an extremely large bulk order of vapor disruptive activities.
So you'd like our sales department?
Yes, please, immediately. I have so much direct action.
Okay, hold, please.
Hello?
What is your credit card number, please? And the
Yeah, you can just bill
CRV
all
code on the
that
back.
to Samuel L. Cedar. That's L. I think you got the rest. Hey, Corey, Michael, it's great to hear you're still from Georgia.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Thanks for calling.
Hey, man, hey, it's fantastic to speak to you, Corey. I got your book in the mail today. I got pictures to prove it. Can't wait to read it, man.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
I want to say something a little bit about this dynamic in Silicon Valley that I want folk to understand. There's an enormous amount of money out there, and it's floating around and it's looking for a return, right, like it always has. And the old-fashioned way to make money was to sell things to people. But large swaths of people these days, they don't need to buy things, and what's more, they can't buy things because they don't have a lot of money. And so the answer is to find ways to make money on the front end and the back end, right? To make money selling them a product for a pittance that you make something on, and then also turning around and selling everything that you know about them to everyone else that will pay you any amount of money for it. And to my mind, these tech fetishists in the U.S., they've gotten really clever at running this maze, and they've confused that cleverness with a vision. They don't see the maze. You hear me?
Hey, are you trying to cut into my business here? I mean, like, let's not give up the whole racket, okay? Like,
yeah, easy now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm coming at you. I'm coming at you a little harder, man. But,
no. You're 100% right about all that. I mean, like that. You laid it out. That's it. I mean, on a strict, profit model basis. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, what part of Georgia are you in, by the way?
You know, I'm sorry?
What part of Georgia are you in? I know Noah's in Atlanta area.
Noah's in Atlanta area.
Right in the heart of middle Georgia, right in the back stab middle of the state. We got some fine peaches around here, large military installations. And
I used to live in Augusta, is why I asked.
Oh, right on, man.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to wrap up with is just like, if you listen to Mark Zuckerberg in interviews about this stuff, he has not given one lick of thought to how his global media platform has been manipulated and is going to be manipulated in the future, beyond getting his legal team to update some terms of service that everyone has to click on, right? Like, this sort of nonsense is not going to be sustainable in the long run, and I'm not sure what the fallout will be when the House of Cards falls. I don't know what Corey's book has to say about that.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of surprising that a transparently sociopathic college dropout who made a site to rate the hotness of girls at his university is not handling a sort of world historic technological shift and the consequences of it very well. I mean, I don't know who could have predicted that.
To help with connectivity.
It's really shocking if you stop to think about it. Not at all. All right, guys. Listen,
Thanks, brother.
I got some denial of service attacks to run against some major financial institutions, so I got to get back to that. I want y'all to have a happy evening.
God bless. That's great. You're calling from a 760 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Oh, Michael. Hey. Wow, perfect. Two real Southerners followed by a fake Southerner. This is Kenny, Kentucky Fried Comrade.
Hey, what's
up? So, yeah, this is like my bread and butter stuff with H-Bomb. Like, you're talking about a lot of really obscure YouTube figures who say a lot of, wild shit all the time.
Right.
And I want to bring up somebody... a fellow comrade on our side of that on our side of that fight.
Yeah.
Joseph Ballin, pour one out. I want to talk a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about Joseph Ballin.
Wow, Joseph, you're telling me that
pedigree.
Joseph Ballin is somehow coming up in conversation?
He's arrived.
Yeah, Joseph Ballin, you fucking quit both shows way too early, brother.
I think I'm in the dark on this.
You don't know Joseph Ballin?
I miss him.
He's like the
Mrs. I
tanky.
am.
He's like the guy who call. It's like if you say
He's our token tanky for MR.
It's like, hey, and actually he had his reach. He had his eye on TMBS as well. Apparently the Chapo Reddit threads. I mean, he's a very active, crazy person. All right, go ahead. But you miss him. Go ahead.
So yeah, I miss him. I want to talk a moment about his like ideological pedigree. I've been a Marxist for 10 years. I've been following this stuff for a while.
Sounds like a great use
Ballin
of everybody's
is a Maoist. I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
He was throwing you shade, but don't worry about it. Screw Corey.
Oh yeah,
He's just narcissistically wrapped up in his
okay.
book. We would all love to do a blow-by-blow analysis of some troubled guy with a weird pseudonym who used to message pro-Assad stuff to the shows. Go ahead.
Now I regret buying Corey's book. Wow. Okay.
Way to fuck up, Corey.
Ballin is a Maoist third worldist. For those who are not complete nerds and like know what that means, it means they're a very specific brand of Maoist that like thinks that the American working class and first world working class can't be revolutionary, which has a very funny effect on people who adopt that ideology, because the moment you adopt it, you actually realize you can't do anything. So you basically lose your mind and start ranting on YouTube and Twitter constantly. And Ballin himself is a very big fan of Maoist Rebel News, who is an unabashed third worldist.
Wait, is he that really sad-looking Canadian guy? Oh yeah, Jason Unruh.
Yeah.
So just as a sign of Ballin's effectiveness, because there's no doubt that I have no idea who that guy was.
I've been wasting my life.
Ballin did that. But actually, Unruh, if Unruh was a little bit better known, and if he wasn't such a sort of transparent sad sack, he would be a really funny character. But if you just picture some like depressed Canadian guy with like everything about him looks like, depressed, laid off sort of assistant systems admin, except he has a mohawk. And he just sits in like probably in a basement, honestly, and basically is just like, no, of course, Chairman Mao had predicted this in his fourth discourse. It's actually the mashup of like third worldist, like almost 60s style, like Maoist cultism with like extreme, like sort of Gamergate aesthetic is actually, it could potentially be funny.
He sounds like that Sticks and Hammer guy, but like.
So
I don't know who that guy is.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. What have you been doing? Boom. In your face. All right. Two. Go ahead.
Two quick things. I'll be really quick about it.
Take your time.
Unruh really famously made a video called Socialism is Failing Because of a Lack of Fucks or something like that on YouTube, where he basically complains about the fact that he can't buy $90 bottles of cognac. And then the second one is very famously did a video that he was going to discuss, quote unquote, the transgender issue, where he ranted for about 10 minutes. He ranted for about 10 minutes saying that he was going to make a video talking about, quote, the transgender issue, and he has to because Chairman Mao's combat liberalism demands it.
Right.
And then after a bunch of people on Twitter told him he's an idiot and shouldn't do that,
right,
basically made a video complaining that trans people on Twitter are too mean to him, so he's not going to release the video.
That's really the good sign of a really for real Maoist.
That's
the Chairman Mao said that that Shanghai Shek was too mean to him and he needed to take a break from fighting.
This guy sounds like he's one Twitter argument away from joining the alt-right.
Thank you. I'm out. Bye.
Thanks. Wait, really quick. Do you think that he's one Twitter argument away from joining the alt-right? Oh, we lost him. I think my sense of him is that he's being somewhat clever, because I actually think that my guess is that he sees the market opportunity. Like there doesn't need to be another alt-right YouTuber, but if you can somehow like mash up the sort of social grievance with this like Maoist thing. It's a different market opportunity. That's kind of my read on it.
Look
I could
how,
be wrong.
Look
I don't
how
know.
the Silicon Valley ideology of like everybody's got to have a personal brand now. Look at like what it does to. I mean, these people are obsessed with the discourse, and they're all sort of like cynically maneuvering to capture some untapped market niche, and like so they can suck a few more pennies off YouTube. I mean, it's really sad.
I was simply trying to fix the culture in many ways.
You're calling from an 845 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Michael, it's Lauren. How are you?
Hey, Lauren. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man.
How's it going? I hope we've been able to help a little bit.
It's like blowing my fucking mind. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, but I did want to update you and everyone else who's been paying attention to this. My mom had her third surgery this morning.
Oh, okay.
Apparently it went well.
Good.
I haven't seen her because I'm up in Ulster County and her doctors are in Rockland.
Mm-hmm. It's all in
so
New
she's
York.
going to be down there. Yeah, it's in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So she's hanging down there because she has another appointment on Thursday. So, it wouldn't make sense for me or one of my siblings to run up and down the interstate a bunch of times. She's just staying with a friend down there. But, I mean, she's doing the best she can. It fucks with your head to lose your vision over the course of 6 months.
Yeah.
Not
terrifying.
to mention all the swelling on her face.
Yep.
But, apparently for a while she wasn't responding to the treatments, and she's finally started to respond, albeit slowly. So, hopefully this won't be a long and protracted recovery process, but you never know. So I'm really amazed at how much the whole community has pulled together just in 3 days, and I'm probably going to wind up bumping up the goal because why
Go for
not?
it. Do it.
Who knows how long this is going to take and how many how many months we're going to have to pay our bills for.
Yep. You should do it. I'm to whatever extent I've helped, I'm honored to do that, but I'm also just really, it isn't all talk for us. Like, I see these things happening in the context of this community that are just really, really impressive and actually moving, and really actually the opposite of all of the problems that, we identify in all of these conversations. So it's, it's great. And bump up that goal and we'll keep pushing it.
It's amazing, and it kind of restores my hope in the world.
Awesome. Me too. Me
but,
too.
Thank you. Thank everyone who's listening, and you're all wonderful. I love you all, and fuck yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
In case we missed it, what was where do I go?
Oh, it's we'll put it up on screen again.
Okay.
But it's I don't know the exact. It's a GoFundMe for Lauren's mom, and it's we'll put it up on screen again so people can get the exact address.
GoFundMe.com/please-support-Miriam.
Miriam, Miriam. All right. Thanks a million, Lauren.
Thank you a million twice.
Talk to you soon.
Good night, Michael.
Good night. You're calling from a 518 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Michael. It's Dave from Jamaica again. How you guys doing?
Dave, Mr. Dave, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. I was listening earlier to the Majority Report. I don't know if it was yesterday or the other day, but Jamie was bringing up a point about how socialism can improve sex for males and females in general. And I was thinking,
you know who can improve sex for females? Me.
What's that?
Boom. Nailed it.
Oh, Lord.
Every time. Yeah.
Lord.
And by the way, they love it. They call it socialism for females. It's me. May I just say, I have a serious point. I will respond to this as best I can, and you can elaborate on it. But I mean, first of all, you know, there are different shows, and it's fine. You know, it's fine if people bring up Majority Report stuff. But I mean, I wasn't there yesterday as an example, so I don't know the conversation. And if you bring up, you know, you bring up general conversations, that's cool. But especially, like, I have to say, like, if it's something that, like, as an example, Jamie and I disagree on, it's not a good time to, like, litigate it in the post game of my show. So that's, like, a general message for everybody. And now, anyways,
Maybe I want to go on Jamie's show to promote my book.
Anyway, yeah, you should do that. But look, the bottom line is that you know, the ladies love me and I love them back. You have any other questions?
Oh no! I guess I should have probably prefaced it a little bit.
Yeah.
What I was trying to segue it into is like the nature of how capitalism kind of divides up people in the sense that you won't have somebody from a different educational background. Like if you only went to high school, the odds of you dating somebody who got a bachelor's is kind of low.
Right.
That's what I was kind of. That's what I was going to segue it in, because that's what how capitalism kind of segregates people. And then, of course, if we spend most of our time at work, makes the dating life in general harder. And
yeah, no doubt.
then it also makes the incentives perverse as well, because, you know, dudes will have to think. I think Cornel West brought up a good example of it, like why people in a poor neighborhood might be more attracted to drug dealing, because drug dealers have more money to buy cars and so on. And
that's
all the
obvious.
other
The
things.
same principle as anywhere else, no doubt.
Right. And you're less likely to get a chick if you're taking the bus to McDonald's, because they don't really see any future prospects.
I would think
to your
everybody
work
should
at
watch.
I can pull on the bus to McDonald's.
I am so fucking proud of the brocholist environment that we've been able to pull together so quickly on this show. The core lesson of what you just said is all of us being like, dude, I can still fucking pull. I had fucking $20 in my checking account, and I still did pretty well. So, actually, that's true.
But I guess this is why I'm saying a lot.
But
of
but let me ask you. I mean, what's the question? If you could, I think everything you're saying is true, but can you condense it into a question for us so we can?
Right, that's what I'm trying to condense it to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the shitheads that we have with the alt-right and so on.
Yes.
I hate to just narrow it down to them not getting laid, but I could imagine a scenario where if education was free and transport wasn't so expensive, there'd be like less of them. Or am I wrong?
So let me just say two quick things, and I want Corey to jump in on this. I think you're 100% right in all of your analysis, and I make a lot of jokes about this, both because I'd like to demean people on the other side of politics and toxify their brands and humiliate and emasculate them, but also because it's funny, but also because I think it's actually like real. Like, I think if you actually look at most situations of any type of right-wing politics, from Al-Qaeda to Trump
to Elliot Rodgers,
being a very overt example, that this is actually a theme in it. But I do have to stipulate and be clear too that there's actually a flip side that I want to acknowledge, which is that if we're going to say that this sexual, you know, whatever that is, that sexual scarcity or frustration or whatever, is a serious thing, right? And we can joke about it, make fun of it, whatever, that's great. But it actually is something that contributes to some very dangerous social trends. Then on the other hand, we can't do the sort of like, you know, Jezebel, like, oh, male tears thing. We actually then have to conversely take seriously some, you know, 16-year-old kid who can't figure out how to get laid. Like that actually is, you know, something at the very least. And I'm not, again, I feel like it's annoying that I have to stipulate the obvious. I'm not talking about entitlement or abuse or anything like that, but just like, you know, young men that feel like they're X'd out of like the dating and sex market is actually a problem. And if you look at places like China, where this actually has been really formally economized, where like there's a gender imbalance because of the one China policy and because of misogyny, and there's a lot more men than women. Like, this is actually a problem. So I would say my only kind of distinct insight on this is that, you know, let's use it to trash and mock and degrade and emasculate the alt-right, and let's be real about its role in politics. I mean, even fucking, you know, Wilhelm Reich wrote about this, right? And Freud wrote about it. But conversely, we have to not, you know, then we actually have to say, I don't know, maybe, you know, kids' sexual frustrations are things that we should at least hear and sympathize with.
I think you're
all right. I'll make it very quick too, so because I know lots of people are on the line.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience in the sense that I ain't no ladies' man myself, but
Really?
for me, I
With
didn't
that
go down the dark
voice,
path.
you're not a ladies' man. Really? Seriously?
Different standards, I guess. But you see, what happens is
just because you're aroused,
I can see how somebody
you went there
could fall down a dark path where they start blaming everybody else. For me personally, it was more internal, right? So I didn't blame women for not getting laid. It's my fault, right? But I think I can see where that trap comes in, as you said.
It's both faults. It's your fault for not cleaning your room, and it's their fault for being bitches.
Can I chime in? I've been listening. I
hear what you're saying.
I
Yeah.
think you're onto something, and you know, it's legitimate area of inquiry. I'm just not sure what to do about it. I'm not sure that we make it like a problem. Like if we address this, it unlocks a lot of other problems. I mean, I think that there is like a core of misogyny that's maybe rooted in some kind of sexual frustration, that there might be bigger structural reasons behind for a lot of these people that convert to alt-right stuff. I mean, definitely men's rights
I'm looking,
is...
not to interrupt. I'm just looking at it more of it's a consequence of capitalism.
Yeah, no, I think there's some truth. I think there is some truth to that.
Yeah.
I think there's some truth to that. We got to run though, but Corey will respond.
All
But
right,
thank you
thanks
so
for the
much.
call, guys.
Talk to you next week.
Peace out.
Yeah, go finish.
No, that's I pretty much said it. I mean, I think there's something to it. I'm just not sure how we approach that as it. I'm not sure it's an answer.
Well, I mean,
It might be part of
don't
the
we know?
disease,
I
but
mean,
it's
not that these things are solved, but don't we know that in more relatively egalitarian societies, these things aren't necessarily as much.
Well,
of a
I think that's the
problem?
article
Yeah.
that was probably being discussed on the show that shall not be named.
No, the show can.
I'm kidding.
Show
I'm
can
sorry.
be named, you
whatever.
prick. All right. Okay, let's do a little bit more sound. First, let's do this Joe Rogan thing, and then we'll get to me. This was just really fun. I think this also. I wanted to play this Joe Rogan clip for you because this is both essence Joe Rogan, and I think also is like this amazing distillation. I think in some ways this actually gets why people find this show to be appealing. And then like this moment of a human being having like a very deep recognition of something and then being like, whoa, I don't want to hang out in that recognition at all.
Let's get out of here.
Let's check it out.
In the eyes of the law is worth more.
How strange is it that we put like a monetary value on actual life itself?
Fuck, dude.
Wow, it's just such a strange concept.
Yeah.
Did you see that guy accidentally hit that moose with his car?
No.
Holy shit, Jamie, pull that video up.
Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god! Now Joe Rogan is a total shitbag for all of the fucking disgusting alt-right people he has on, but then he occasionally says stuff like that.
That could be a
I just
bit.
thought that was perfect.
I do think that could be a bit he's doing.
That was. Yeah.
I think the way they edited it, but no, I've watched enough Joe Rogan to know that he makes those kind of jumps.
But you don't think
I think
he
you're
might
right,
think
man.
it's
I
funny?
think you're right. He was hamming it up, and it was such a
No, he was
stoner-
hamming it up at the end, but the thought process of going like it's super weird to like monetize human life like that. To like, dude, did you see that? Like, that's Rogan. Like I've listened to enough of that guy to.
Well, so he can poke fun of himself. I mean, that's to his credit, I guess. But you're right. He's had some disgusting people on the show. That
he's a facilitator of a lot of fucking
and
horrible
it shouldn't
people.
be tolerated, really. But that was funny.
That was really shouldn't be tolerated. That was funny. All right, this was me, Corey. Yesterday, I was on I-24 News, which I go on from time to time, in spite of my staunch anti-Zionism. And I was debating, like, this guy is like a fucking MAGA chud made in a lab.
He's even got the old guy version of the Fash haircut.
Yeah, a lab also known as Florida.
And I just wanted to play this. It's only a little over a minute. They basically clipped these on Twitter. It was part of a longer segment. I did very, very well, and we can all talk about that. And I was, I looked very dapper and everything. But I do want to say that I will acknowledge that the beginning part, this is another one you have to watch. I can't deny that I have a smug face anymore after watching this, because I made the smirk that I gave this guy. I watched this and I was like, I was disrespectful to a Breitbart radio show host or whatever the fuck this guy is.
You're audibly smug as well.
Very well. The only thing I'll put in context is before this edit, in the first round of this debate, this guy very audibly laughed at something I was saying. So I was like, okay, fuck the gloves are off. Like, I don't, because actually I've been on this show before and debated Republicans, and I actually can be very I can be extremely diplomatic.
Okay.
But as soon as he uncorked it's like, oh, we're laughing at each other? Awesome. Great.
I want to pause before you do this.
Please.
Are we workshopping your performance, or are we talking about how smart the point you are about to make is?
Well, not just smart. I mean, really, we're talking about everything that I did was fucking great.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, look, I mean, at this point right now, if you think about it, he's done more than any other administration, as I mentioned before, since the Truman administration. I mean, Barack Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize for basically being Barack Obama. I would think that
racist.
President Trump is now in line for a Nobel Peace Prize for averting World War III.
I'll probably see that one a little bit differently, but I think.
But what about if it works? I mean,
if it works, everybody deserves credit, right? Everybody involved. But again, I think the timeline's kind of important here. During his most sort of blatant, amped up threats and the tweeting and all of that, North Korea is testing and escalating. In the last couple of months, you have a new South Korean president taking charge of this situation diplomatically, and now we have a de-escalation and a meeting. So again, let's be clear about timelines and who deserves credit. Number two,
but even the South Korean president says that Donald Trump deserves credit, even for the rapprochement that they had for their Olympics.
I doubt that wouldn't it be wise for him to not give Trump credit. But look, I mean, of course, if he's involved in a deal that works, of course he deserves credit, but I don't buy that he's the driver of the deal. And in a broader context, if you look at the lessons of what they're trying to do to undermine the Iran deal as an example, it would be quite foolish from a North Korean perspective to entirely denuclearize. So the administration is going to need to take accountability across the board. But if he is at a signing and this deal comes through, I will be the first person, or maybe the second person after him, to say that he deserves some
we're
credit.
calling you when that deal
After Edward Woodson. Edward Woodson, Republican strategist, Michael Brooks, host of the Michael Brooks Show, here with us in studio. Thank you both. We appreciate it. Great conversation.
Thank you, guys. All right.
Well, I nailed it, but
that guy looked like had a vampire grin there.
No, I screwed up. They said Michael Brooks shows in the Chiron, and there's one thing that I regret, which is I had a smirk, which kind of worked when he said, well, the South Korean president gave Trump credit, and I was basically saying, like, dude, like, what is the president of South Korea going to be like? If this fucking moron would stop interfering with me, I'd get a deal. He's not going to say that. But what I should have said is, well, as evidenced by how well he's handling North Korea, this guy is an expert at diplomacy with moronic lunatics, which I should have said. But besides that,
would have been too cryptic, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that would have flown over the audience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great Michael Brooks show.
That's true.
Joke,
well, I save it for the patrons. But no, I thought it was a strong performance. Can we just go back to
Can we talk about how strong?
No,
respect for being the only guy not wearing a tie.
I just want to. I know that was. I was really on brand here. I just want to go back to the part where the fact that I audibly made this noise was actually pretty funny. It was right here, probably like right around this part where he's talking about Obama getting the Nobel Prize. This was actually pretty funny. I didn't
as I
realize.
mentioned before, since the Truman administration. I mean, Barack Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize for basically being Barack Obama. I would think that President Trump is now in line for a Nobel Peace Prize for averting World War III.
That's it. I just like.
I mean, good for you for not laughing out loud.
I tried. I was
you had
trying.
to swallow it.
You know, to be fair, the hosts were smiling with me. That did help. I don't know if you noticed; they were both smirking a little bit.
I mean, how can that guy get on and say that? He knows. I mean, you could look. You were there. You probably know better than I could see in the clip. But he looks like he knows. He's just spouting nonsense.
I mean, I don't. It's a weird thing because I think there is some. I mean, it's not like I have. You know, I mean, Sam would be a much better person to answer this than me. But I just think like there's some bizarre combination of like I think he totally believes it, and I think it's also like leave it on the field. Like it's some bizarre like. He totally is what he. I have no doubt. You know, it's not like he's purely cynical, but there is this other
we should look up his LinkedIn. I bet he's like
both
strategic communicate. Yeah,
he's something.
He thinks
like
you're
that.
in the same business.
Yeah, no, I think that there is that part of it. I think that's totally part of it. It's you go and you do a little fucking exhibition, and you fucking hit the ball back and forth or whatever sports analogy we're going with, and then you leave. I think that's basically, and for me, it's like, look, I'm not. I think it would be very different to get to a point where it's easier when you're debating like Sarasota's fascist talk. Like I'm not actually debating somebody who's actually done active harm yet, right? Like where it would be more difficult to be.
Auditioning.
He wants to be, but it would be different if you're on like. I don't know if I couldn't do an avuncular. Yeah, you're an asshole with Bill Kristol because it's like, no, you're really an asshole. Like David Frum, Bill Kristol, like. No, you fucking did this. Like, fuck you.
Well, it actually, there was another thing I caught in the clip, and I might have been sort of imagining it, but it looked to me like when one of your hand gestures, you were like flipping him off on the way down. And you'd have to play it back in slow-mo or something. It's too much work.
Back and to the left.
My version is, yes.
Back and to the left.
I'm really proud to be a producer of Michael Brooks shows.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna need to.
It sounds like a gentleman's club.
It sounds like the fucking ballpark.
Hey, come to the Michael Brooks shows. We're on Patreon. We got girls. We got socialism.
What does he host?
Various...
What does he host? Some Michael Brooks shows. Okay.
Yeah, I host the Michael Brooks shows. Hey, look, Barack Obama's a good fucking president. He did a good job on fucking North Korea. I'm here on the Jew channel talking about Barack Obama. Hey, you're calling from a 330 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling?
Hey, Michael, it's Ryan from Ohio.
Hey, Ryan, what's going on?
Okay, well, first of all, let's talk about rap music.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so you guys are always arguing, Jay-Z, Nas, etc. I don't know if you knew, but just a couple of days ago, my man Kool Keith put out a new album.
Okay, good for you. Good for him.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you. But the reason I called in is because I have in my possession a book of jokes written by one Dave Rubin.
I actually got excited.
I was. Wait.
Is this real?
No, of course not. But I'm sure whatever it is. All right, but please. No, it's real. It's real. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm not playing along correctly. It's real. Dave Rubin's jokes, please.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, so is anybody in the house gay tonight? Anybody? I saw this fucking clip. I had a rough childhood. I grew up on the rough streets. They called me U-turn because I left the left.
That is both simultaneously just as unfunny as something he would say, but slightly more clever. Yeah, go ahead.
See, the funnier I am, the fewer laughs you guys give me. It seems like I'm being punished for my success. I'm a homosexual man. So Jesus walks into a bar where he meets a couple of Muslims and treats them very nicely. The end. Did I mention that I'm gay married to a man? Crowd, what is this? UC Berkeley? 'Cause neither Democrats nor Republicans laugh at my jokes. I must be doing something right.
That's actually really good.
If I could give some feedback, the only difference between your jokes and Dave Rubin's jokes was that he wasn't even laughing at his own jokes.
That's true. And your joke still had construction. You would have to come on and be like, hey, am I talking to any podcast hosts?
Here's the Dave Rubin closer. Any bi people here tonight?
Yeah.
Raise your hand.
All right. Anything else, Dave? Anything else? And you got one more thing, Dave, before we run?
Oh, have you guys heard the one about the Islamophobic guy?
No.
Just kidding. There's no such thing as Islamophobia. Goodbye.
Oh, man. You had it on your killer material. Thanks for the call.
That was a lot of work there. That's like
that was a lot of work.
Actually writing a stand-up set.
He put more work into it than Dave Rubin did. You're calling from a 212 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, this is Train Boy from New York. How are you?
What's up? What's going on?
Not much. So I had a bunch of things to talk about. It's kind of late, so I know you need to rush. But
yeah, what's going on, though? Give us one.
So, well, first off, with Corey Pein, I actually have some first-hand experience working as a contractor at some of these tech companies.
Oh, yes.
And it's very weird. There's this very infantilizing aspect that everything is taken care of for you.
Yeah,
so you go to
perks.
one floor, you get your food, you have your snacks, you can play video games.
Do you have to swipe a card to go to the bathroom where you work?
What?
Do you have to swipe a card to go to the bathroom where you work?
I don't want to identify where I work too much.
Okay.
That's a fair
I'll
concern.
take that as a yes. Sorry.
It's trippy.
Anyway,
so
yeah, I'm curious.
The second thing is regarding the Russia stuff turning into racism. I was watching your Majority Report co-host Rachel Maddow, and
nice. That's pretty good. Okay. You just bought yourself a couple more minutes there, buddy. I wasn't expecting that. Go ahead.
And she had somebody on, and I don't recall exactly what she said, but it was almost getting into some phrenology bullshit. Like, the Russian mindset is targeted at doing. And
may I just for a moment? I'm sorry.
Of course.
Indulge
Please.
me.
I was hoping you would.
The Russian brain was formed in the 8th century. This is Rachel Maddow. What does the Russian brain want?
Explain later after the break.
Yeah. Okay. The year was 1975, and Dmitry Nabokov was running for city council. Did he want to win? No, because he was Russian. Does that sound weird? I'll explain it. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
And at a certain point, I mean, if you're not a fan of Putin's social conservatism or
imperialism or war crimes or plutocracy
or
skull shape, right? That's a good point. Yeah.
You have to sympathize with the Russian people who are the biggest bearers of the brunt of his ill will.
No doubt. I mean, I agree. I mean, obviously, my talking point I've used probably too many times at this point, but it's like Russia just makes everybody stupid. I mean, there's a contingent on the marginal left that wants to think of Putin and Russia as some type of that made a lot of noise, as some type of sort of paragon of international law and so on, and that's delusional. And then, there's other people that just can't look at Russia with any objectivity and think it's the cause of all the world's problems, and they're both delusional positions. I appreciate the call, man. Please call back in again soon. Thank you.
Will do.
You're calling from a 347 area code, another New Yorker. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, it's me, Mike from Gravesend. What's up?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Not much. I just wanted to just make a comment directed at Corey, mainly about his book. I just ordered it today. Didn't get a chance to read it, but I did listen to an interview you did on the Discourse with BJ.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And one of the things you mentioned was how, there seems to be, ideas built into Silicon Valley that are just, inherently regressive, or I don't know what you call it, reactionary. And, an example of this is, I hear a lot of talk from a lot of these tech guys about, shit oh, in the future we're going to download our mind into computers and we'll become, software, and we'll become, fucking immortal or whatever the hell it is. And it's to me, I just look at that and I'm like, that sounds like Manichaean, it's mind over matter, or the soul or some shit like that, some old Gnostic crap. And it's almost is there something about Silicon Valley where it's the technology, the way that it's all structured, is it framed in a way where all this stuff is just geared towards a reactionary end or something?
Yeah, I think so. We're talking about stuff that was invented
That's
for
a great
military
question.
uses.
Thanks for the call.
The root of the word engineer is from making war engines.
Yeah.
It goes all the way back. So yeah, I think you are onto something there. Yeah.
All right, final call, then we'll get to some IMs and the Discord questions. You're calling from a 401 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, 401 or 404?
I'm sorry, it's 404, I see. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Hey, guys. So my main thing is to ask Corey to blow up Michael's spot a little bit and tell him to... So all of Michael's personal brand stuff is exactly what Corey is talking about. And that's... right, we have... Michael, you have your shows, the Michael Brooks Show. Sorry, I'm getting a bad feedback.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear this call. Did that?
It almost sounded like he wanted you to insult the person that was
Just
promoting.
make sure you do it well and you do it with passion.
Exactly.
Fuck you, Michael.
No, fuck
Are you happy now?
Yeah. All right, sir. He told me to go fuck myself. You order his book now, you prick.
Yes, I will.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.
It's a
Thanks,
win-win-win.
man. Appreciate it. All right. Let's get to the Discord questions. I guess I don't know if you have them up, Matt, but I can read them on my phone for now. Okay. First question from. Oh well, no. This dissonant peasant. You called, so I'm going to skip your question. Well, all right, this is easy. It won't be for me because I have no answer to this because I don't watch the show. But Kirk or Picard? Are you a Star Trek guy? All right, we're going to skip that one. Sorry, love you. It's a question from Tabby Cat. Corey, update on metaphysical aliens.
I asked I asked some other people, not my editor, what would happen if I blew my deadline because I was on book tour, and it might even be delayed if I did that. So let's skip this.
This is for the patrons, you bet. All right,
Yeah,
okay.
all right, I'm working on it.
Let me try to give them.
I'm going to try to hit my deadline. I got.
Fair enough. You got things to do. All right, let's try to give them some gossip. Who is the biggest hack you've ever appeared with or talked with in person on the right or left for gossip? This is
a question for me.
This probably is more for me, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I get you.
I mean, it sounds like a cop-out, but I mean, that dude was up there that we just played. I don't even remember his name. I mean, he was... It's going to honestly have to be him. I don't think I've ever... It was probably him.
He was toothsome.
He was very pure.
Yeah, he was very pure. Corey and Michael, what is the biggest weakness of these types of companies we can attack? Question from Dank Uger.
I would say
that is a good name.
Like Dissident Peasant said. I mean, hit the infrastructure. Please
don't promote illegal activities on my show. Thank you. Even in the post game.
I was kidding.
No, I know you're kidding. I'm just kidding. We're all joking. But I mean, but can you? I mean, no, like it's like opting out of these technologies.
This comes up in every interview. I mean, look,
it's not about personal actions, though.
No, we need call your congressman. Person.
No, but
call your congressman. Seriously, I mean, we need this is a political problem. We need a political solution. So, boycotts can work. Picket lines can work. Phone campaigns can work. This is not something that you're going to fix by switching apps or, opting out of Facebook.
I would recommend also looking at what the European Union is exploring policy-wise, because when you call and push for these things, you can say, not only is this doable and absolutely necessary, the rest of the industrialized world is already undertaking things like looking at nationalization, consumer bills of rights, being really tough on anti-monopoly laws in Silicon Valley. This is all here.
Yeah, it's not like nobody's figured it out.
Right. We like everything else. We know the policy answers. It's just a question of basic corruption that keeps it from happening, and cultural corruption. Has Corey seen Silicon Valley, and how accurate is it?
Pretty accurate. I mean, I only saw the first season. I only saw the first season. And it was pretty accurate. Somebody suggested I do a compare and contrast between that and another show. But Mike Judge worked as an engineer back in the day. Like I think even before the first .com bubble, or maybe he caught the beginning of that. So he has some context for it, and he had writers. I think that like Iannucci, he probably had writers that were there doing kind of the anthropological stuff I was doing. So it's pretty close.
I'm a big fan of that. I think it's a very funny show.
It is pretty. I mean, what I remember is pretty funny. I'm not up to speed on the plot, but I think that if anything, it's not. It doesn't get the dark side enough. For that.
I think as it's progressed, it's done a bit more of that.
Okay.
And there's a funny scene. I'll just mention it, decontextualize, whatever. I guess it's a spoiler, but it doesn't matter. I played it for Matt actually before the show, but the sort of antagonist, the Gavin Belson character, who's just a really funny comedic conceit, period. And has this scene where he's sort of like, he's kind of almost having like a spiritual epiphany, like, fuck it, I just want to like get out of here. And two of his advisors basically are trying to like manipulate him to stay in his position at the company so they can stay on the gravy train, which is a great touch. And he's basically like, what he ends up doing is he sort of is like going through like, well, I can't go there because that's where Bezos is. And then somebody's like, what about Pacific Northwest? He's like, well, Gates has bought all of it. And they go, well, what about Toronto? He's like, Google's redeveloping the waterfront and Branson snagged all the good islands. Maybe I could go to Mars, but that fucker Elon Musk is in Mars. And he goes, and that loser James Cameron is at the bottom of the ocean. And he pauses and he's like, there's no place I can go. Which I just think like they really, that sort of like relentless sociopathy and narcissism, but also like, he has Buddhist beads and it's all like they do a decent job with that. Question from Jill: Laborize is awesome, but will there be a corresponding ICO for some sort of labor coin? It's probably true.
Again,
you got to get into this.
Email the Central Committee, and you'll have your answer. Opportunity. We're open to opportunities.
Mom's mom loves hardcore tech. Guess that isn't a question. It's more of a statement. I missed that one.
Scientific data can't be racist.
Jesus Christ. That was really good. A question from Banerjee. Hey, Corey, how come tech bros always try to invent things that already exist, like bus, Lyft, shuttle, Uber pool, or vending machines, bodega from 2X Google employees, and how come they always get venture capitalists give them tons of cash?
Well, because those are things that people like actually will spend money on, and in many cases it's either small business owners or public assets. So those are the things that they can swoop in, take over, and ruin. So it's because they're things that people actually are willing to pay money for.
Right.
Yeah, they're inventing cabs without labor protections.
Yeah, that's really what it is. You know what it is? That's actually, you just nailed it. It's it's X invented without labor protections.
Bingo.
That is the core innovation,
or
of
environmental
all of these
protections,
things. Or environment, right?
On and on and on. Yeah.
Anything that what we have done through whatever we're going to create, I mean, this is what Adolf Reed, right? He said, look, in the 60s and 70s, we were starting to think of left socialist critiques of the welfare state. And then by the 80s, we were like, oh my God, we as socialists need to defend the New Deal. And like the painstaking work, however flawed and however imperfect, of regulating industry through New Deal, Great Society, and so on, and even through, I mean, if we're being, fully sort of honest and counting, like Nixon, right, and even to some extent Carter, although he started the neoliberal backlash in terms of policy. But yeah, it's just every area where there can be an intervention where you can go into a category that already exists and destroy a pre-existing regulatory framework that benefits labor, the environment, or consumer protection.
The financialization, the same forces behind that realized that digital technology was useful in that same basic effort.
Right. Eric MN, all of these details about the singularity have me a little confused. How does that relate exactly to the number of people in the room during the proponent's sexual experiences? I'm not. I think Corey's much more equipped to answer that than me.
I might have made a leap there earlier. I mean, the idea is, I'm not sure if proponent is the right word you're looking for. I mean, you might mean like whoever's experienced it or something. I'm trying to interpret.
Oh no, he means proponent. You wouldn't know.
Oh, I think I get it. Okay, so
like
saying how does it all fit together? Well, I mean, after the singularity, it's like Star Trek reference. It's like the holodeck. I mean, it's like that becomes our reality, is like wish fulfillment.
What's the holodecks where they go into fantasy?
Yeah.
Okay. That is like the idea that your endpoint would literally be fake experiences with not humans is actually like incredibly depressing.
Isn't it? It's a little
depressing.
Weird.
It's bleak as hell.
It is, and there's an organization, I forget the acronym for it, but somebody did a survey of transhumanists, and the transhumanists are like an offshoot of the singularity thing. I mean, they think we're going to evolve into cyborgs or like, genetically engineered master race.
Right.
But they did a survey of
Sounds
like their, it was like a demographic survey basically. And a lot of people had, like that are into this stuff had body issues and, they weren't happy in their own skin, let's say. And that fuels a lot of this. I mean, it might sound weird to us and not appealing, but I mean, for certain people it is appealing. And,
Eric MN says it's a virgin joke. Jesus. Well, we gave you more content than you wanted, buddy. What can you do? Attorney Andrew, the head of the CFPB, Mick Mulvaney openly admitted to quid pro quo corruption today at the American Bankers Association conference, where he told the crowd that he told lobbyists that he would not meet with them unless they donated to his campaign, and then further told these bankers that they should start donating more money to members of Congress. Despite admitting this smug little prick will continue to hold the position of the nation's most powerful bank regulator of banks. Yeah.
Mulvaney don't give a fuck.
Yeah, Mick Mulvaney is in an administration filled with the. I mean, I said it was like it's Spectre except all white. These are the worst people on the planet, and Mick Mulvaney still stands out. I mean, he is a disgusting, grotesque in every possible way. I mean, he's obscene. You all have to comment on this morning's Chris Kobach news and the case brought by the ACLU relating to Kobach's voter suppression policies. Kobach filed a brief today wherein Kansas argued that the plaintiff's lack of standing. However, this argument was accompanied by Kobach's notes in all caps, quote unquote, probably not worth arguing, end quote. Pretty great lawyers they got over there. The briefs were corrected hours after filing. That's fucking hilarious.
That's
Ryan
awesome.
from LA.
Chris Kuckbeck.
In the Ben Shapiro terrorist facilitator video, was he at 1.5 speed? I think so. The final, I am Lewis from Texas. Howdy, y'all. Corey Pein, big fan of your podcast. Keep up the good work. And just for your information, I'll be putting your book next to my Tom DeLonge book on aliens. Corey knows what I'm talking about.
I do. Sacred Machines. It's real shit.
Fucking A. I want Corey Pein.
Michael, thank you.
I mean, honor. It's an honor.
It's great to be in the studio.
So great to
Finally.
have you here. Can't wait to have you back on again. I got to get out there to Portland and visit you guys.
Anytime.
And, of course, super producer Matt Leck, head theoretician David Grisham, super producer David Slavic, all patrons, all callers, all AMers, all Discorders. You guys are great. This is really the type of teamwork we need to counteract all the stuff we're talking about. Sunday, illicit history of the SDP in Germany. Next Tuesday, Big Waz, Wozni Lambre, and Brianna Joy in studio. Thanks, everybody.